Welcome, and we're joined now by Ricky Sharma from TMH to tell us about the latest MEPRA case study award winner. Ricky, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your project that won the award.
Yeah, we were approached by the Abu Dhabi Police Department, the Patrols Directorate, because obviously they were very concerned about the fact that traffic accidents in the Emirate of Abu Dhabi had increased a staggering 33% between 2006 and 2010. Now that rate had actually declined to about 5% increase between 2009 and 2010. Obviously they were still very concerned about the increases in traffic accidents, and particularly amongst young Emiratis under the age of 25. So we had a look, conducted an audit on all of their communications over the last few years, and what we saw was basically that the messages coming across were far too rational. They weren't connecting on an emotional level with any of the target markets, such as young Arabs, such as Indian families, such as Western expat families, and Emirati families as well. So they really needed a campaign that started to connect with people on a more emotional level.
What are some of the challenges in getting that emotional note right?
Well, the issues that we had, obviously unlike in the West, where you can be quite hard-hitting with safe driving campaigns, you can show the blood and guts, as it were, from the aftermath of a traffic accident, but culturally that just wouldn't fly in this market. So we had to think very hard and very creatively about how we got that message across. And what we actually did was we actually used the sound of a car accident happening, the sound of shattering glass, and actually our campaign creative was called Shattered Lives. And what we tried to do was not only show through sound the impact of a terrible accident rather, but what we tried to do was actually show to families and show to younger drivers how their relationships would be impacted. So the relationships between friends, the relationships between their family members, how they would be impacted through reckless driving. And we actually looked at a study that was commissioned by the Emirates Foundation as well, just trying to understand the psychology and the mentality of these younger drivers. And what we found was that they didn't obey traffic rules, such as they tailgated, they jumped red lights, they sped, they used their phones. It was all about bravado and machismo almost, and so they were trying to basically state, and territoriality as well, that this is my country, I should be able to do whatever I like. And in fact, obeying traffic rules was almost seen as cowardly or almost unmanly as well. So we had to kind of break through that to try to connect with them on their level. So basically what we did was we put together, as I call it, the TMH Holy Trinity of communication. So we had social media, traditional comms and PR working very hard independently, but also working beautifully together as well to produce a fully integrated campaign. And each of those tools had different roles to play. So first of all, we used traditional advertising to break through that emotional barrier that we had. So we tried to connect people with our Shattered Lives campaign so they actually could connect with us and engage with us on an emotional level. Then we used PR to seed in all the rational messages of why people should drive safely, specifically in this market. And then social media had a very specific role in terms of connecting with youth. So we used Twitter and Facebook. We created dummy Facebook accounts, for example, and got a conversation going about why it was, why it was stupid, basically, and uncool to drive dangerously. And we sort of started this viral campaign about defriending bad drivers. And then we also, through Twitter, we had live Twitter feeds as if people were going through an accident, and it ended with the account actually being shut down by the blogger actually shutting down the campaign because obviously they're deceased or been involved in a terrible accident.
And how did you measure the results of those online?
Online, we basically had community managers feeding through and talking to and engaging in conversations both through Twitter and also through Facebook in Arabic and English with these young drivers, and it was just based on the volume of conversations that we were having through those tools that seemed to work well. I mean, to be honest, if I was to do the campaign again, I think we'd have a much more structured social activation plan in there. We'd start the campaign a lot earlier and just, give those conversations real time to build momentum. Again, we were on a limited budget, and once the campaign ended, it's a shame that we had to leave those conversations. It's certainly something that we'd love to pick up and explore deeper with the Abu Dhabi Police Department.
And looking at the results more generally, what was the impact of the campaign that you could quantify?
Sure. Well, we worked with Terry Media, they're our partners, and they were hosting safe driving events as part of GCC Traffic Week on the Corniche in Abu Dhabi, in Marina Mall, in the Western region, and also in Al Ain. And they were after a year-on-year increase because they'd handled this event, this safe driving event, for a few years, and they witnessed, I think it was about a 30% uplift in actual people turning up to these events and finding out about safe driving. So that was one key indicator that we saw. The other key thing, the other great thing, was that we actually witnessed a decline in reported traffic accidents in Abu Dhabi from the first 9 months of 2011 versus the first 9 months of 2010. Overall, they went down by 12%, and amongst under 25 Emiratis, it went down by about 17%. So this was data coming straight from Abu Dhabi Police, which was absolutely fantastic that we'd actually managed to sort of not only flatten the curve, we'd actually managed to reduce the amount of traffic accidents. And again, I think that's ongoing. We can't take all credit for that. Obviously, there's a lot of hard work that's going on behind the scenes with Abu Dhabi Police Department, their involvement in schools, colleges, universities, working directly with a lot of the larger Emirati families in the Emirate as well. So I think a lot of it all came together, but a lot of it and all the messages that they used were flown directly from the campaign that we put in place.
Talking about working with families, it's very interesting the idea that instead of targeting drivers directly themselves, you can bring to bear some social influence, you can bring to bear some kind of peer influence on it. To what extent were you thinking about that indirect third-party advocacy almost kind of communication?
Yeah, it's certainly something for the next campaign that we do, and certainly something that we'd like to explore a little bit further. Again, Emirati youth and indeed expat Arabs have a lot of role models, especially in the sort of sporting community and driving community as well. And there's a campaign we're working on at the moment about a rally, basically a rally around the region. And again, we can layer in safe driving messages into that because again, it's who young Emiratis, young expat Arabs, indeed young Westerners, who are they going to look up to, and how we can actually leverage that sort of engagement that they have with these these sort of icons that they relate to.
It was fascinating at the beginning when you talked about the issues of territoriality, the issues of bravado. To what extent did you segment your approach culturally to the different groups that you were targeting?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, as far as social media was concerned, we were aiming that specifically at young Emiratis under the age of 25, but obviously there's going to be spillover into expat Arabs, especially if we're using sort of Arab channels. And again, that's something that we'd like to explore in terms of targeting and using social media buying a lot harder to make sure that we're really targeting those people, because it is now possible with social media to target very directly, especially if we're targeting Arab language, Facebook for example. Certainly we can really home in on these people and really segment them quite well.
Excellent. And you've been recruited to do the same again next year, I believe?
Yeah, we're actually working with Abu Dhabi Police Department on several projects, so we're spreading the net wider with them this time. So yes, it is still on traffic, but it's also now going to be on sort of community and crime, things like that as well. So we'll hopefully be able to use some of the tools that we used with them last year as well.
Excellent. Well, congratulations on your award, and we look forward to hearing more about this next year.
Great stuff. Thanks a lot.